Welcome to my short Zoom training. I know a lot of us are using Zoom, so I thought I would show you a few cool features that maybe you do or don't know about. So one thing that I wanted to show you, a lot of people ask me about, is the virtual background. So what I did was I put a green sheet behind me, and then you can use the virtual background feature. For some computers that don't have a lot of, I don't know, power or something, you need the green sheet behind you. But literally you can just go to Target and you can buy a green sheet and put it up on the wall behind you, or put it up somehow, and you can have a green screen, and then you can have a background. And the reason why the background is nice is like you don't have to worry about anything behind you or something like that. And you can also use this virtual background to teach with. So for example, I could do this one here and say, oh, right now we're going to go over the parts of the brain. So in your Zoom, there's interesting ways that you can make things interactive with the virtual background. Oh, class, yes, I'm going to teach you about LSD now, right? And then you can also make your backgrounds here, so like Zoom training. So as you're probably very well aware, is I find that Zoom, teaching on Zoom is a little bit more exhausting because I don't get any feedback. And so anything I can do to like talk a little bit and then change my background while I'm talking would be nice. You can also use the share screen and do it that way with your head is up here and then the share screen, and we'll go over that. But I want to show you something else that's pretty cool before I go on to that. So the way that you do the virtual backgrounds is, like I said, you'd have to put a green sheet behind you for a lot of computers. Some that are really powerful can do it without the green sheet. Then you just go to where it says video, and you can upload pictures. So any picture off your computer, you could do something like this, and you can have this here while you're talking on Zoom, and you can just change the background very easily without them even seeing. And that changes things dynamically a little bit there. Okay, here's another thing that you could use to make things more interactive. I find that my students really like this. So you can use the poll function. So you can see that I used poll, and the way that you activate polls is in your settings. I can show you that if you want. But what you can do in the middle of class is you can make a new poll very easily. Are you a fan of Zoom? Okay, so here's the poll, and then I would type the question, and I say yes, no, okay, and then I save the poll down here. And you can go back and see all of your polls. They're right here. So the moment that somebody asks something, you could say, hey, let's see what the class thinks about that. And then you create this poll, and then you go launch polling. And what will happen is this screen will pop up on their screens, and then they can click yes or no. And then once you see like, okay, we have the majority of the polls back in, then we hit end polling, and you hit share results, and they can see what they answered. So you could easily do this as like a group quiz and see how many people got the answers correct with the poll. And I find that the students really kind of like this feature. So I would recommend trying to use some polling in your classes. Here's another thing, the breakout rooms are great. This is such a great tool. So I'm clicking down here on breakout rooms, and then let's say that you have 40 people in a class. So I would probably put 4 people to a group, but whatever number you want. And so I would choose 10 rooms right here. And then I would do create rooms, And what it's going to do is it's going to assign everybody to the room. Now what I do personally is whoever's the first person, it randomly assigns them. Whoever's the first person of the group, I say, oh, okay, the Zoom has determined that you're the leader today. So when you come back from your breakout rooms, I'm going to expect you to report back what you learned. And you could assign them different problems. Like, for example, let's say you have a lecture, and instead of you doing all the work, you could assign each group a segment of the lecture that they could look up in the books or your notes or something, and then they could present it to the class. And that might change things up a little bit. Okay, so when you're in the Zoom room, you can send messages. There will be, I can't show it to you I can't show it to you here because nobody's in the rooms, but there's a way to type a message to the room. You'll see it says send message, and then right here where it says open all rooms, you can just hit close all rooms and it'll give them 60 seconds. You can change it to 30 seconds. See this right here, you could do to 30 seconds or 10 seconds, but I think 30 seconds a lot of times gives them a chance to wrap things up. And some of them will be able to, it depends on the settings that they put, but they can see the amount of time. So if you say, oh, I'm going to give you 10 minutes, they can see how much time has passed in the Zoom, but not all of them have the features there. Okay, so breakout rooms are a really good way to break up your Zoom sessions. But now, here's another way. So if you get tired lecturing, or you feel like the students are really tired lecturing and you want to add some diversity, so first we went over that we say, okay, you can change your background. So as you're talking, you can make things change in the background. And that's one way without the share screen. Oh, then we talked about polls, that you can create them on the spot or you could create them ahead of class. And then we talked about breakout rooms, and it's just so amazing, the breakout rooms. And then you can come back and each group could present something. Here's another thing, chat. Chat is such a fun thing. So probably a lot of you who use Zoom, you already use chat, but you can use chat as a chat attack. And so you could say, okay, I'm going to ask you a question off the PowerPoint, and we're going to keep going until people eventually break out. So the first person that answers it right, and you see it on the chat, you say, okay, so-and-so got it right, so they can't answer anymore. And then for our next question, somebody else has to answer. And then you just have this round of questions where each one in the class is going to try to type it as fast as possible, and you could wait till you get through all the students in class. So everybody has a chance to answer a particular question. So the chat can be like really fun for like a review session, setting something up like that. Now here's another one, share screen. And after I finish this video, I'm going to show you a video of a lady who made lots of cool games. But what I love about Zoom is that you can play games with the students in class. But before I show you that, I'll show you, this is the whiteboard. So I selected the whiteboard. So I think a lot of you know I like Zoom. Okay, a lot of you already know this feature. You can put here, I do not like Zoom. So I saw an interesting way that a teacher used this is they had the students use the stamp tool, and so each student could stamp whether or not they like Zoom or don't like Zoom. And so this is a different way of doing a poll. Of course you could do a poll, but sometimes it's good to change things up. As students like to, you know, oh, we're presented with something different. And so you can see the number of stamps that are on this side, and you can see the number of stamps that are on that side. I think a lot of you know that you can erase. So of course you can share many things. So after this video is over, I'm going to share a video with you of a lady who's sharing all different games that you can play with your students. But I thought that it would be fun for me to show you Kahoot. So a lot of you know about Kahoot. So here we go. You can create a Kahoot, and it's like a PowerPoint. And then what you can do is you can have the students here. Do you see how you can do classic one-on-one player? And what it'll do is the students will have their phone, and you can, the music is really annoying, so you can, whenever you play play Kahoot, if you feel like that music is annoying you, just mute that tab. But what you do is you have all the students put this pin in, and you'll see them show here in this window right here. And then what you can do is they can use their phone. They're either going to have to use their phone or a split screen. So they would have a window and window. I think a lot of you know window, of course. So they would see your screen here that they're sharing with you, and then they would also have another screen that will have like a box that has red, green, and blue. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so here's a Crimes of Passion that I made for my Psych 2 class as a way to show like how neuroscience is involved with, so it's a neuroscience edition. So here's a poll question. So when they play this, so we can share screen, and when they play this, as you can see, there's a 20-second timer. So I'm asking, when someone drinks, what degree of control do you feel that they have over their actions? And then what they'll see is they'll see squares on their phone. They'll see a red square, yellow square, blue square, and a green square. And so whatever they feel, they would click on that particular square. And then at the end of this, after these 20 seconds are up, it's going to show a graph of the different answers. And then like here's our next one, have you ever felt like there's a thin line between love and hate? Yes, no. So it's a poll question, and then they get to see the answer. And then here's one where I'm lecturing a little bit about the amygdala, is that the nucleus for rage and the nucleus for bonding is very tightly controlled in the nucleus for fear. So I'm doing a little PowerPoint lecture here, and then you can add in videos. Here I'm showing emotional hijacking, and then here we go again, is how long do you think experts believe that it takes to calm down from emotional hijacking? And then they get to guess. And then the next video tells the answer. And so this is a way to make your Zooms like really interactive, because the Kahoot allows you to put poll questions in, it allows you to put videos in, and the students can really interact with it, and it shows like who's winning, who's not winning, so on and so forth. So if you find that like you're really struggling to make your Zooms interactive, maybe this will give you some ideas. And there's also, you can play bingo, you can play Jeopardy, there's Jeopardy labs. I'm going to show you, we've been working with Padlet, and I'm going to show you ways that you can use Padlet where they actually move things around in the Padlet right when you're there. So anyway, I hope I gave you some interesting things to consider with Zoom.